Well, I don't think it's looking too good for the boy Saul Canelo. Payday, you want the payday? I know that Eddie Hearn believes that Canelo Alvarez pretty much is on the decline and could even retire after the Terence Crawford fight. Mm, mm, mm. In this video, I'm going to break down what was said and, of course, give my thoughts. Idig. So Eddie Hearn, he's actually, let me say it like this. Eddie Hearn has done multiple interviews. So what I am saying and quoting from him is not from one concentrated interview. But since it was around the same subject matter, I want to condense it all in one nice package for you guys, right? Because it's easier than me making separate videos when it's the same subject. So, full disclosure, he said these comments in different interviews, but it's regarding the same subject, so I'm going to consolidate. So, he's basically saying that Canelo could be done after the Crawford fight, right? He's saying what else is left. Then he did another interview, and he's talking about Canelo's decline. He says, quote, "It wasn't just the fact that Canelo couldn't cut off the ring against William Skull. I just feel the timing now and the age, right? This is kind of what made Crawford pick Canelo." Eddie Hearn goes on to say, "Canelo is amazing, not just because of his ability, what he's accomplished, but the fact that he still has the desire for those training camps and those fights. I just feel that desire is fading a little bit. Not because of his love for boxing, but because of his age and life. The Terence Crawford fight will definitely get him up for it. I don't think he'd want to lose to Crawford, a much smaller guy, because he's at the end of the road. The fight is so big and the money is so big that he has to take it. I bet he retires after that fight, right? Why would you carry on? You fight Terence Crawford. Who else is there for Canelo to fight? Do you think Benavidez is going to come back to 168? Again, I don't think Canelo would want to lose to David Benavidez because he's not the fighter that he was. There's a lot of pride for those guys, right? And he says he's made a huge amount of money. Maybe it was just fighting in Saudi Arabia against a negative kind of opponent in William Skull and all that kind of stuff. I was sitting next to Bud Crawford the whole fight, and I was thinking, I think Terence Crawford will probably beat him. Don't get me wrong. It's a very tough fight for both guys. Great fight. The movement of Crawford and the ring IQ, and he looks like a younger, fresher fighter, even though they're 36 years old and Crawford is older at 38 years old. It's amazing. Wow. We had the Canelo Skull fight very close. Don't get me wrong. Canelo won after 8 rounds. They put the DAZN scorecard on the screen, and it was 8-0 Canelo. Terence Crawford was like, I've got Skull winning this fight at this stage. In the end, he didn't do anything more, and Canelo did a bit more, and he won the back end of the fight, but it was very close. So I think that's a great place to stop. And now I want to give you guys my thoughts. I want you guys to notice this is a frequent old media tactic, old media pattern, where you have guys that old media will praise, like Gennady Golovkin. Hell no, guys, hey, Max, guys is not, right? Guys like Canelo Alvarez. And these guys will do what they do, have good resumes, but then they won't end up fighting somebody towards the tail end of their career that maybe is their mandatory or a good fight. And then the fans and media and promoters like Eddie Hearn tend to make excuses for those fights not to happen. You just heard Eddie Hearn. He's like, if you beat Crawford, what else is left for Canelo Alvarez? What? Are we really being serious? When the world wants to see Canelo Alvarez fight against David Benavidez. He never fought Dimitri Bivol in a rematch. Bivol just beat Better Biev. He's undisputed, right? And at a point, Bivol said he would fight Canelo and drop down to 168. Canelo should have been did that rematch, but he chose not to. So it's funny, Canelo has a built-in excuse. Eddie Hearn also said in this interview, Canelo hates movers. And he's making excuses like, oh, maybe it's because he fought in Saudi Arabia. Well, tough titty. You know why? Because this is all Canelo's doing. He could have fought in America on Netflix and fought Jake Paul in a big commercial event. He chose to stiff Al Heyman, PBC, MVP, and Jake Paul and try to cash out with the Saudis because they offered him money for these style of fights that nobody really wants to see. And he probably feels these fights are easier than if he stayed with PBC and, you know, had to fight their schedule of fight. Because PBC will pay you, but they're not going to pay you for Hamza, Shiraz, and fights that nobody's requesting, right? So it's funny to see that Canelo, he looked burnt out and he's only like 35, 36 years old. Canelo Alvarez, I get it, you turn pro at age 15, but they wanted him to be the Mexican Mayweather, and he's not that. Point blank period, because Floyd was able to evolve, adapt his style, and have longevity in the sport. You see Canelo, he's not even 40 years old yet, right? He's at like halfway to 40, and he's already looking shot to pieces a bit. You know what I mean? His laziness in the William Scope fight, he can't pull the trigger and stop guys anymore. Caleb Plant might have been the last person he stopped, but he couldn't stop Jaime Munguia, Edgar Berlanga, John Ryder after hurting these guys. You know, he just hasn't been able to finish them, right? And you can say, oh, he carried Munguia because he liked him. Okay, Berlanga he didn't like and was talking trash, and he couldn't stop him either. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. Canelo Benavidez, it looks like the fight will never happen because media makes excuses for Canelo Alvarez. And now they're saying, oh, what's left after the Crawford fight? Meanwhile, we got bad news for the Crawford fight. If you want me to make a video about that, just type Allegiant Stadium. But it doesn't sound like the fight is going to be on Netflix, nor will it be at the Raiders Stadium. So type Raiders or Allegiant Stadium if you want me to make that video. If enough of you guys do that, I will record that video and it'll be up later today on the channel. Make sure you guys subscribe for the latest and greatest in boxing, and let me know what you guys think of Canelo Alvarez, who Eddie Hearn believes will retire after the Crawford fight. That's not a good sign, because if you're confident and, like, let's say you knocked out Crawford. I'm spitballing. I'm not saying it's my prediction. If you knocked him out, why would you need to retire after that? Why would you pick that as a stopping point? Unless Eddie Hearn probably believes that Crawford is going to be too much for Canelo Alvarez, and then that would make more sense, because if you lose to a welterweight, then you're cooked. You lose to a career welterweight who started at lightweight, you're cooked. You might as well retire. So it's looking bad for your boy Canelo.